In this video, I'm going to be discussing what is an unorthodox playstyle in Dead by Daylight, which is a support playstyle. This game is very easy to be selfish in, since really at the end of the day, you have to rely on yourself the most. If you want to be the unsung hero of the team by keeping everyone up nice and healthy and keeping your eye on everyone, then this playstyle might be for you. I'll be discussing what in my opinion are the best perks to bring for this sort of gameplay, such as perks that cover categories like health, information, and sustainability, as well as any synergies, pros, and cons. The first perk we have on the list is Bond. This is a teachable perk from Dwight. Bond allows you to see your teammates' auras when they are within 20 meters at Tier 1, 28 meters at Tier 2, and 36 meters at Tier 3. This is what's going to allow you to keep tabs on your allies, regardless of if they're injured or not. Information is always good to have, and with this, you can see if your allies are completing generators, running around for chests, breaking totems, or in a chase with the killer. One of the best things about this perk is that if you're the one being chased by the killer, this will allow you to make sure you avoid running into your teammates, possibly getting them injured, or worst case scenario, both of you killed. Unlike Empathy, you can see your allies no matter what health state they are in. The downside, your range is reduced greatly. Keep this in mind, because this means you're going to have to be a bit more aggressive than if you were to have Empathy, due to how much lower the range is. Speaking of Empathy, the next perk on the list is Empathy. This is a teachable perk from Claudette. It allows you to see injured or dying allies within 64 meters at Tier 1, 96 meters at Tier 2, and 128 meters at Tier 3, which is infinite on a lot of maps, besides some rare exceptions. Empathy allows you to be there for your team when they're in trouble, letting you see injured or dying allies at 64 meters at Tier 1, which is bigger range than Bond's Tier 3, to practically infinite range if you have this perk maxed out. If you know where the chase is happening sooner than later, you're able to get there quicker, which can ultimately allow you to hook your teammate faster. Obviously, this doesn't mean gung-ho it. Make sure the coast is clear first. But doing so saves you time, which is very important against killers that need that time to set up traps, protect totems, etc. However, Empathy does not reveal auras of allies when they are in the killer's direct contact. Granted, this downside isn't too bad, since hopefully your teammates will be weaving in and out of the killer's line of sight anyways. Given the range, this allows you to play more passive and stalk from the sidelines. So Bond versus Empathy, which one should you use? This all comes down to personal preference. One of the reasons I even put Bond on this list is because when you talk about one of these perks, the other one is usually talked about immediately. Perks like these are the stepping stones for your other perks that have greater output, since you're getting more information. Bond is really good for not running into your own teammates while being chased, and avoiding awkward meetups at hooks if someone else is already going for it. Empathy is really good for being able to get to your teammates hopefully before they're downed. Either way, both perks are really good, and I highly recommend you try out both of them to see which one suits you more. Next up is We'll Make It. This is a general survivor perk. For each survivor you rescue from a hook, you gain an additional 100% speed increase while healing others for 30 seconds at Tier 1, 60 seconds at Tier 2, and 90 seconds at Tier 3. If the killer is camping or just patrolling the area, We'll Make It is very good at getting you out of those close situations after unhooking your ally and getting them to full HP quickly. It's even good if you aren't in a tight spot and you want to get to more of a safe location to heal because the timer lasts for so long. Even if you have this perk at Tier 1 and only have the 30-second timer, that's still a really long time to get to a better location and heal. Now, it would make too much sense for this game to have a feature where you can see what perks your teammates are running. So because this doesn't exist yet, you'll have to tell your teammates that you're running this perk in the lobby, because if you don't, everyone is going to run away from you as fast as possible the moment you unhook them. So just expect that. The good thing about this perk is that it stacks. So, for example, if you've unhooked all your other teammates within that time frame, you can potentially have up to 300% increased healing, if you have it maxed. Next, we have Borrowed Time. This is a teachable Bill perk. After unhooking a survivor within the killer's terror radius, for 15 seconds, any damage taken that would put the unhooked survivor into the dying state will instead apply the Deep Wound status effect. The survivor has 10 seconds at Tier 1, 15 seconds at Tier 2, and 20 seconds at Tier 3 to mend themselves. If the unhooked survivor takes any damage while affected by the deep wound, or if the timer ends, the unhooked survivor is immediately put into the dying state. Borrow time has always been a very strong perk, and in my opinion, definitely the best perk on this list when it comes to being a team player and pulling off clutch plays. This allows survivors to tank a free hit, allowing you more time to get away, and a free speed boost you get from the hit you took. However, if you take another hit on top of that, or aren't healed by the time the timer ends, whether it's you or by a teammate, you will enter the dying state. Luckily, the timer is paused when sprinting and or mending. All around, a really great perk for those clutch plays. Next up on the list is Botany Knowledge. This is a teachable Claudette perk. Healing speed and healing item efficiency is increased by 11% at Tier 1, 22% at Tier 2, and 33% at Tier 3. This perk is the bread and butter of a support build, increasing your healing speed and the efficiency of your items. This perk goes really well with perks such as Will Make It and Self Care because it increases the speed of both of those perks. So, instead of having a 100% or 200% healing increase from Will Make It, you would have a 133% or 233% healing speed increase. Same for Tier 3. It also gives your medkits more durability and speed, giving you more value from it. So what I'm going to show you is what it looks like healing without Botany Knowledge or without a medkit. And as you can see, it does take a pretty long time. It's pretty awful. And even still hitting a skill check or two, it still takes forever. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like healing with Botany Knowledge. Now, granted, it doesn't make too much of a difference, but it is definitely noticeable. And I only have my Botany Knowledge at Tier 2, so I'm only gaining a 22% increase when I could potentially have 33%. Our last perk on this list is Saboteur. This perk comes from Jake. It allows you to see hook auras in a radius of 56 meters from the pickup spot of the survivor that is being carried. You can sabotage hooks without the use of a toolbox at 2.5 seconds. This has a cooldown of 90 seconds at Tier 1, 75 seconds at Tier 2, and 60 seconds at Tier 3. This perk is excellent at helping your teammates get off the killer by denying the killer's hook. And without a toolbox and the cooldown, there really is no reason to have this perk off of the cooldown unless you don't want to make too much noise, which can actually sometimes be good, as the noise can distract the killer from the target if they're busy in a chase. As an honorable mention, we have self-care. Now, I know self-care is weird as an honorable mention, as it doesn't heal any of your other allies. However, I did just want to skim over it a tiny bit because you're probably going to run into some trouble using all of these perks, or at least using a majority of them. If you're having a rough time, or your allies just simply aren't healing you, you might want to consider taking self-care just so you can keep yourself up longer, which in return means you can use your other support perks longer. But if you don't feel like running it, then I would definitely replace it with something like Borrow Time. Playing a supportive playstyle is far from easy, and I applaud those who do. If you find yourself having trouble winning games, or just dying too quickly, I recommend you swap out a perk, maybe like Saboteur, and try out something like Dead Hard, Self-Care, or Balanced Landing. These perks allow you to choose when you want to use them, and are always great for getting yourself out of trouble. In my next video, I'll be discussing perks that are best for those aggressive, tanky kind of players. See you then.